Hello and thanks for joining us on this very exciting episode of U.Gov. U.Gov is all about you and the government. Yes, we'll tell you about government policies, government functions, and of course, you have your obligations to perform as a citizen in your country. I am Itohan Olomu-Agbodo. First, we'll go on a quick break. We'll be right back. This week on EduBox, we are taking a look at the composition of President Muhammadu Buhari's new ministers. The Senate, presided over by Ahmed Lawan, has confirmed the 43 ministerial nominees appointed by President Muhammadu Buhari. Of those nominated, the president included the names of 14 former members of his cabinet, while he dropped 18 others. However, only 7 women made the list of ministers. The Senate tradition is that only former federal lawmakers be exempted from questioning. The Senate President, however, extended the privilege of bow and go to former state lawmakers, women, and special nominees. More to come on the show.
Now on StarTimes channel 465 is your #1 Christian and lifestyle channel, Love World Plus, meeting all your entertainment needs, trending, dedications, joyride, celebrity lounge, video tales, and so much more. For those of you who love current affairs, we've got you covered. News focus, strictly politics, the agenda, U.Gov, and so on. Be sure to always be in the know with our informative programs, as we also get you settled with amazing documentaries like A Day in Your Neighborhood, Discover Africa. These will blow your mind. The youths and kids are not left out, as we have created a platform for them to speak, learn, and have fun. And to crown it all, we serve fresh, hot, and sizzling foods to feed your spirit, soul, and body. That is Pastor's programs. There's never a dull moment with us. So make it a date on channel 465 as we take you on a smooth journey to cater to all your needs. Love World Plus, channel 465 on StarTimes.
You're welcome back if you just joined us. This is U.Gov, and as I said, it's all about you and the government. Of recent, we'll be taking a look at things that are affecting Nigeria as a nation, things like security, things like the Ruga settlements, and now we want to take a look at the ministerial composition, the composition of the list of ministers sent by the president. And now the Senate has just finished screening the 43 names sent by the president, and all of them scaled through. But first of all, I want to go to the street to find out what Nigerians have to say about some of the processes that occurred during the screening. Take a listen.
When you ask them to just bow and go without asking them any question, which shows that next, when they put them there, they might not even be able to manage their ministerial appointment very well. So that's the practice that we should not encourage at all, especially concerning this situation, our peculiar situation in Nigeria. So it's not a practice that we should encourage. But nonetheless, it has happened. So which I just think in the future, so is what we can just at least, if those people at the Senate know they are not competent to ask a question, they can bring those people, they can bring people from outside, professors, doctors, lawyers, at least to come and ask them questions instead of just ask them bow and go. So, and based on the ministers without portfolio, it shouldn't be a good thing also. We should not encourage it also.
The screening process was okay. For the first time, we are having things smoothly in that regard, compared with the previous Senate that was always in conflict with the executive. And we all know the consequence that the government process was largely slowed down because of that. On the issue of take a bow and go, I will not really blame them at all. What we need to do now is to agitate that the constitution be amended in such a way that the president will not send a list of nominees without attaching portfolios.
I think the buy and go syndrome has started from a long time. And as they allow you to go, it will continue to go like that. And if you look at those people, most of them that were buy and go, they are the former ministers who they have seen what they have done. They have seen their work. They have seen everything about them. They know much about them. The other ones that are new, which they were a little bit questioned, it's not all of them they were asked to buy and go. Some were questioned. The one that were questioned, I think the answer, I think is healthy to me. You know why I say ZD? Because there is a kind of mutual agreement between the Senate and the executives. And when we have that, the Nigerian will move in time.
You're welcome back. Quite interesting. People always have their opinion, and that's why we always go to the street to find out what they have to say. But personally, I feel that the bow and go policy of the Senate is quite unimpressive, really. But we have a guest speaker in the House, is Justice Ojienoh. He's a legal practitioner and is a social affairs analyst, and he'll be talking about the composition of the president's new cabinet members and some other issues arising.
Yeah, some of these ministers that were dropped actually did well. I make bold to say that a person like the former Minister for Agriculture, Audu, with how old he was and the fact that he's one of the recycled ministers, I make bold to say that he did well. And ordinarily, I would have expected him to come back. Minister of State for Petroleum, Ibeka Chiku, professional to the core, technocrat. By all world standards, he is a strong personality to be in the team. Of course, he has been dropped. Some people conjectured that, okay, the likes of maybe Mr. Olomu-Agbodo will make the list, given the fact of how unceremoniously he was ejected from governance. But he didn't make it. And the likes of Akpabio, how did he make it? So it gives credence to some people that say that, okay, this list is for compensation of some people who actually lost out in the elections. And for me, it is not that acceptable. I'm not expecting so much from this new set of ministers, because a set of persons who have failed, you don't reward them with the same juicy office all over again. You ought to chastise them, you ought to replace them. It was a miracle that they even could complete the 4 years that they completed at the time, because ordinarily people were clamoring for reshuffling, people were clamoring for shaking up of the cabinet, for some of them to be fired and to go, but none of that happened. So are we trying to say that during the 4 years, none of them was incompetent? Let's check more advanced clients. A lot of them had to resign in advanced clients. A lot of them were fired, actually, in advanced clients. But in a country that even suffered a recession, at the time, they all still made it to the end. I make bold to say that same will continue. There is no punishment for impunity or unperformance in our cabinet, and in fact, generally in the country. Even the ones who are running the agencies, they are just having a field day, despite the fact that their agencies have been failing. So nothing will change. Nothing will change. And as per ministry by ministry, one major challenge we have with respect to making a prognosis at this stage is the fact that we don't even know who is going to be nominated to appoint him to oversee a ministry. Because during their screening, no portfolio is attached. So we'll be having a wild goose chase if we say, okay, we want to question this certain person, for example, a Malami on administration of justice, whereas we all know that it's highly possible that it's a conjecture. The president might come up now and say, Malami go and manpower. Because as at the last administration, it was an equivalent senior advocate that manpower. But again, when we check the politics of it, it is most likely that a person like Malami, who, by my own standards and opinion, failed abysmally in the administration of justice sector in our country, it is most likely that he will be the one to head the Ministry of Justice. A lot of people have been conjecturing that, okay, it is a Keyamo. I don't see that happening. I don't see a Malami who was substantive minister becoming a minister of state in the Ministry of Justice while a Keyamo. So I don't see that happening. So because of that, even the senators, they couldn't screen. Aside the fact that, okay, they are, by my own reckoning, rank-added senators, rubber stamp senators, who are not actually out to shake these people and check some of them, their characters. You'll be shocked that some of these people can't even recite the national anthem. How will we know if the people who are constitutionally charged to even vet these persons have relegated their duties and they don't even have the guts to start, all because the president nominated them? So why do we have a legislature? Why do we have such provisions in our constitution? I don't expect the Ministry of Petroleum, for example, to do substantially better. It's going to be same of the same. Because even Vivek Achukwu, who was very, very professional, had a lot of issues because of the ethnocentric coloration of and configuration of the NNPC. They gave him a whole tough time, and now clearly showed to us that really ministers and ministers of states might not really be as powerful as we think them to be. Because it is very possible that the people in the ministry who are of some ethnic configurations and colorations can actually thwart the works of such ministers. It is a great anomaly. And the reason why I say that is this. The Nigerian population, of course, we don't have a regular population census as is required by the Constitution and our statutes, because it is a highly political decision. Women, the female, they are slightly more than the males from the last population census. So, and again, ladies generally, women, they have these traits. They are very, very good in management, naturally. If you, as a government, deliberately, because I consider it deliberate, despite the fact that you say words to the contrary, decide to not give that chunk of the population commensurate representation, there will usually be issues. And it's not just in Nigeria. The countries that are evolving in Africa, even in the world, they have shown clearly that if you give the female folk a good chunk as parts and parcel of governance, you will reap the rewards 100-fold. Rwanda is one of the emerging countries in Africa. Check their legislators. They have more female representation than the male, and it really shows in governance. If we check the UN Declaration on female participation in governance, it still remains the same. Check the CEDAW proclamations too. that Nigeria is a signatory to is still the same. The National Gender Policy of 2005 says that 35% of positions in governance should be exclusively the preserve of women, at least using salami tactics, which is one step at a time. Ordinarily, it ought to be beyond 50. But okay, let's take it one step at a time. Give them 35. The president even said it in 2015 that women are going to be given priority in his governance. But that wasn't to be. So if you check 7 out of 43, that's about 16%. A far cry from what you committed orally that you do. Even the 7 was by luck. If you check the nomination of a person like Gbemisola Saraki, ordinarily it would have been a male, but he took that decision of Gbemisola Saraki to spite Mr. Bukola Saraki. So ordinarily it ought to have been like 6 or 5, and that's a spite on the fact that our president can open his mouth to make a promise, and from the very next breath, he's not fulfilling it. It's what is supposed to be law. Supposed to be a man of integrity. But that seems to not be.
Quite interesting. Of the 43 names sent by the president, only 7 were women. That is against the affirmative principle by the United Nations that said 35% should be given to women. But that is not the issue for today. We'll take a look at that issue another day. We want to go on a quick break. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. This is still you.gov, and we have Justice Ojienoh, who has been talking about the composition of the president's new cabinet members that have just been screened by the Senate, and he's been talking about the youth inclusion in this administration. Take a listen.
About 1 year ago, it was a politically savvy topic. The youth participation. We even had the 4th alteration of our constitution because of youth inclusion, what we call the Not Too Young to Run bill. The president latched onto it, signed it into law. Everybody was very happy. But it seems to be a topic that nobody is talking about now. When it's time to share, I don't want to even say the national cake, when it's time to share roles in the governance of a nation where the youth is predominant. So we have issues on ground, and the people who are going to be most affected are not even anywhere near the table. We are not even sure that they are going to be getting special advisory positions, except they luckily get a special advisor position for youth affairs. which also is absurd in a nation like this. So I recommend that the president looks into this again. And if he's going to appoint more ministers, he may have to. Or in fact, it is better for him to cut down on the number of ministers that we currently have, because it seems as if from government to government, or cabinet formation to cabinet formation, everything is just increasing in number. And we are talking about government that's supposed to be leaner and slimmer, so that at least the money that is generated into the CRF, the Consolidated Revenue Fund, will be to the benefits of the populace. So the youth should be given greater roles in governance, and not just in speeches. The women too, the affirmative actions should be carried out. Women should be given more roles indeed. And square pegs have to be put in square holes with respect to persons who are qualified for certain positions, and not just everything politics and bootlicking. The world over, before a person can be scrutinized, before questions can be put to a person, it is reasonable that we know the role that the person wants to play in governance. That is when we'll be able to pre-plan and check the competence of that person with respect to the role that is proposed. And that's the way it works all over the world. One of the ministers in America was called they call them secretaries. I think the one for education. She was screened with respect to the office, and it was found out very easily that this person was incompetent for the work, and that was the basis upon which the person was dropped. So we now have a situation where we don't even know what a person is going to be employed for, and we're supposed to interview the person. There are some that even went to the assembly that they were not even allowed to mention their own names, and they were told to take a bow and go in the name of professional courtesy. They now extended it to the point where even people who were not members of the Red Chamber at any point in their lives were told to take a bow and go, because they served probably some hours in some other legislatures in some other places. It's sad. It should not even be. It is a serious business. If a person is going to be put as the policy guider or the policy guard for a particular ministry, we have to be sure of the person's competence. And the only shot we have at it that is not so political is the Senate. And from what we have seen so far, they are not interested in carrying out that constitutional duty.
Well, quite interesting. The Not Too Young to Run bill was signed by President Muhammadu Buhari, who was returned in his second term as president. And interestingly, no youth made it into the cabinet. No youth was listed in the 43 names sent to the Senate for screening as ministers. We have some more tidbits for you. Well, that's much we can take this week on u.gov. We talked about the composition of the president's new cabinet and the list, the 43 names that are just been screened by the Nigerian Senate. And we have 7 women in that list, just 7 women making the new cabinet. And if you have comments for us, we'd like you to log on to our website on www.loveoplus.tv. We have numbers that will be shown on your screen now. You can send your comments to those numbers. I am Olomu-Agbodo. Bye for now.